Hi guys, welcome to Basement Supercar Build, the channel where we see if an average guy like me can design and build his own mid-engine car. This video will be a highlights video of the work that was finished this week. If you want to see the actual work take place, watch the full-length video for this week. And with that out of the way, let's get started on this week's video.
Well, I have these mounts made. Cut these pieces out and welded them to the existing radiator mounts. And they are ready to bolt back on and then fit the two air conditioner condensers here. I'll have to make some spacers, and I'm not sure I have the material for the spacers and the right length bolts here, but I'll start looking through my materials over here in just a second and see if I can come across something that'll work for these. But we'll bolt those back on here in just a minute. Had a couple of other things I wanted to show you. I have all the components here for the gear shifter. My CNC guy came through and finished all of these today. So I can assemble this and start testing the shifter, make sure the throws are going to be correct and work. Once this is assembled, I will need to fabricate and mount a piece here for the spring that holds the gear shifter in the center. It's kind of a centering mechanism. I did not design that piece in the computer. I'm just going to hand fabricate it. And also the shifter cables came in today, so I can get those put in the car and start measuring and testing and get everything adjusted to the right length. And then I need to make some mounts for these bulkhead fittings on both ends to screw to and hold the cable housings in the correct position so they can't move. And also today I had two adapter fittings come in. These fittings are metric and the cables going to the shifter are standard, so I needed some adapters to convert these two different metric fittings into 1/4-28 to work with the cables correctly. So once I get the cables in and screwed into these adapters, then I'll start measuring the plate that the bulkhead mounts for the cables attached to will bolt to these three bolts here. And I've got to come up with some kind of a mount here and on the other end too where the shifter is, and design it on the computer and start fabricating those. But I think the first thing I want to do is put these two mounts back on the front of the car, the radiator mounts, and see if I have what I need here to start mounting these air conditioner condensers. If so, we'll finish those, and if not, then we'll start on the shifter cables. But let's get going working on those things. I want to show you what I'm working on. I don't have the material for the spacers here for these AC condensers, but you can see here kind of how they're going to mount. There'll be some aluminum bushings here for spacers, and it'll bolt and drill holes in those mounting plates. And give you an idea what it's going to look like there once it is bolted on. I'll pick up some spacers and get that mounted on here as soon as possible, another day or two maybe. I want to show you this up close. Here's the gear shifter mechanism. It is assembled and in the car. It moves, but it's not going to shift gears until I make a mount and fasten the cables here solid. They go through a hole. It's a bulkhead fitting, so I'll have to make a weldment. Something either welds on or bolts on here and comes back, that these pass through and clamp down solid on that. And then once those cables are bolted solid on both ends, then I'll be able to shift gears and make sure this is going to work correctly. But this is what the mechanism looks like assembled. You can see how this part functions, and then the forwards and backwards. It's just hooked to a separate cable. And then in the back end of the car, everything here is also bolted up, but I'll have to make something to capture these two cables in alignment. About right here is where it'll go. And the same thing, I'll have to have a mount that bolts here on the transaxle that these two bulkhead assemblies on the cables go through and clamp down tight on so they can't move. And I guess that's the next thing we're going to work on.
Well, here's what the gear shifter assembly looks like, and I wanted to show you this. And you may also notice my voice is a little funny today. I woke up this way, not quite sure why, but the assembly is finished. It's bolted in. I have these mounts here to hold the cable housings in place, and then the cables themselves are hooked up, and I made a mess. And it appears that the gear shift lever has full travel in all directions, but until I get the back end completely finished, the mounts and everything assembled and all the cables hooked up, there's no way to know for sure. But this is a good place to start, and this looks finished. And I'm going to move back here to the back and start working on this. You may notice this drill bit is stuck in this hole. It aligns this shaft with the housing, and with the correct size bit in there, that locks everything into neutral. So I can start fabricate a housing knowing that the transmission here is in neutral. And then once this is finished, I can go back up front and adjust the rod ends until the stick itself looks like it should be in neutral. And that's a good place to start. But I'm going to move the camera back here in the back so you can kind of see what I'm doing back here. I know I'm hidden and it's almost impossible to see what I'm working on back here. So we'll try a different angle and see how this works out. Well, I have the gear shifter finished. The cables are installed. The mounts on both ends are installed. And I shifted all the gears and it seems to work. Needs a little bit of grease on the gear shift assembly. It's not bad, but I'm hoping it'll work itself in and be a little bit smoother. But it does reach all the gears, so I guess we have it adjusted really close. To do this, I made a fixture here to hold the gear shift lever in the neutral position in dead center, and I've just got it sitting here now, but it was all clamped together. And with that clamped into neutral, I came back here and this drill bit drops in and intersects with the transaxle case, and it holds everything back here in neutral. And then I made the mounts, adjusted the cables, holding everything in neutral. And when I was finished, I removed the drill bit on the transaxle and the fixture I made on the gear shift lever and switched gears, and everything seems to be good. So this is what the cable mount here in the back looks like. I just have this piece tack welded on just to verify it was in the correct location. I'll go ahead and weld that on solid, and then I need to make a mount that welds under here and comes down and bolts here to stabilize that mount assembly. And then I guess this will be finished. So although it was a lot of work, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it could be anyway. So happy that this is on the back side of being finished, and we're just a couple of hours away from finishing this. But just wanted to show you these things, and I guess we'll get busy finishing up this mount. Okay, I think we have the mount and connections all completely finished for the back end back here. And I'm going to sit down in the car and shift gears and show you how this functions. That was shifting through all 6 gears and reverse, so 7 total gears, 1 backwards and 6 forwards. But you can kind of see how the cables move the linkage and shift the transaxle into all the different gears. And all the mounting bolts are in. There's 1 under here and 2 here. So that piece is completely welded and finished. The only thing I need is a spacer bushing here to take up some of this play. And I think we can call the back end finished. So I guess that's going to be about it for this week's video. And the only thing left on the shifter linkage, and this is what we'll be working on next week's video, is the reverse lockout. I don't have the reverse lockout mechanism made, and I'll have to fabricate that and install it on the gear shift linkage. But we'll work on that next week, and I'll see you guys again in 1 week.